Hi, Harshada.
Hey, hi Trisha.
Yeah, hi.
All good?
Yeah, all good. I have made you the host, huh?
Yeah.
And you can also make Mansi co-host so that all the questions can come to you guys, and also you can make me host.
Sure.
Hi guys, thanks for joining in. We shall be starting in just next 5 minutes.
Yeah, hi guys. You can share the link with your friends as well. So we can start in the next 2 minutes. We'll wait till 9:05. So request you to share the link and remind your friends to join.
Hi Mansi.
Hi, Trisha.
Yeah, hi
Hi,
Harshada.
Hi Trisha, hi Mansi. Good evening,
Yeah.
everyone. Almost good night.
So a very warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining in on actually a holiday. So today in panel we have Harshada, who has total 4 years of experience in valuation, including her articleship, and she is currently working in KPMG. And we have Mansi Goenka with us. She is working in Grant Thornton, and she has also done her CFI course. So over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Trisha, for such a warm welcome.
thank you,
Uh,
Trisha.
I I would
Yeah.
request Mansi to take this ahead.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm Mansi. I am currently working as a valuation consultant in Grant Thornton. I had done my articleship in audit background, and I had done industrial training in the third year. So I just wanted to say that I get a lot of queries as to whether you can enter valuation field if you have a non-finance background and if you are from audit or taxation. So I'm a live example that you can do that. Uh, Talking about how I got into valuation, I thought I would really I really like finance. So valuation is basically around finance and accounts, and it has a lot of numbers and Excel and number crunching. So yeah, if you want to know like what is the basic thing you should be doing if you want to enter valuation, I would suggest you work on your SFM skills, and also you should do financial modeling courses, which is what actually helped me during my interview cracking. So yeah, over to Harshada. She will give a brief detail about the technical concepts related to valuations. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mansi. So this is our actually the second season of open house sessions. We had one during the previous attempt, and it was quite good. And people actually, got a clarity of how things work out post your qualification and how to understand where your interest actually lies. And Mansi is a very good example. She has been in my touch since she has cleared my her CA. So I cleared my chartered accountancy in 2020, and as Trisha introduced, I started in valuation with a mid-sized firm, and later on, after clearing my CA, I joined a KPMG in their valuation practice. So I'm after brief introduction of Mansi, the purpose of it was to give a brief perspective of how valuation looks from a fresher point of view, because you could be entering a totally new world if you are choosing valuation post your qualification. So just to make you understand what is valuation, how it's done, I would I would like to give you a brief of what is valuation, where it is done, how it is done, why it is done. So let's take a example of a transactions. So we simply see from outside a merger and acquisition transaction, but there are a lot of things which go into it. So right from identification of a buyer, then the diligence happened, the due diligence, tax diligence, and then it comes to the actual valuation. So valuation is an exercise which helps you to determine what is the actual worth of a company from a market participant point of view. Obviously, there are various perspective to that value. Like if I stand in a market, what value that company or that asset should have. There is other market, there is a participant specific value. Let's say if a specific company sees an advantage of in the another company acquiring another company, then it obviously would have a participant specific value, and which we generally call as synergies when the two companies acquire get merged with a specific intent, or they create an added advantage. That's what we call as synergy. But talking about this, does the valuation help only during the merger and transaction? No. So valuation is done for different purposes. One of the purposes is the financial reporting purposes. As we know that Indes requires the financial reporting to be done. Let's say if the company is valuing its investments on fair value basis, and if the investments are in different companies, then you are required to do valuation for financial reporting purposes. Then let's say if the asset is going to be tested for impairment under Indes 36, you have to do valuation. So there the valuation plays role. Let's say if the company has a foreign investor, or the company who wants to exit, or the company a foreign investor is entering into the company, then you have to do the valuation for FEMA reporting purposes. Then obviously the mergers and acquisitions transactions. So yeah, there are a lot of different purposes which triggers the valuation exercise, and this is regarding when the valuation is done. Now, how the valuation is done. I would request everyone to, post their questions, if any, in the chat box, and then we will answer it together. once I cover my all the points. All right. So coming to the second question. So how the valuation is done? So in layman term, I can say valuation is arriving at a price of the company. But obviously, it's not the price. Value and price are two totally different concepts. And obviously, we would not dive into the detail how different concepts they are, but they are different concepts. But how to value a company? Let's say you have a house, or you have bought a house, or you are going to buy a house. So how would you determine the worth of that house? First of all, how much money the existing investor of that house has put in. So basically, in terms, if we translate it to the financial statement terms, that is the net worth of the company, the balance sheet net worth of the company. The second approach is what price the similar house is getting in the same area, but a different house with a similar characteristics. So that is the market approach. And then obviously the cash flow approach, the discounted cash flow method, which comes into the picture, which is the income approach. So these are broadly the ways the valuation is done. But obviously there are situation specific aspects we take into consideration while evaluating these approaches. So this is basically how the valuation is done. Now, coming to the next question, I actually answered why valuation is done, when it is done, how it is done. And this is broadly, what valuation is from a fresher point of view. And then I would like to cover that, what all skill sets that are required, or what all interest if you have that would help you in valuation. So first of all, definitely you need to have a great understanding or a great passion to understand the numbers, because it's actually the exercise. If I say it's a 100% exercise in the valuation, it's around 60-70% on the Excel. Then it goes into the report writing. So obviously, if the Excel is important, then yes, your Word, like the report writing skills in the Word document or the PPT, those are important as well. Then one needs to have, a sound understanding of the market. I'm not saying that you should be very expert in the understanding of the market, but it's good to know a few things regarding the industry, overall industry, or whatever clients you have worked till now in your audit or tax, in your articleship, to when you are going to interview in a specific company, because they might ask you. And yeah, these are some of the skill set that I would suggest you should have. And apart from that, this is what I wanted to cover in the initial monologue. Now I think you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Thank you. There are few questions in the chat box. So first one is, do Big Four hire CA with attempts in this role? So to be honest, attempts do not matter while hiring in the Big Fours. And nowadays, Big Fours are hiring quite a lot of freshers. And not only the one, who have cleared in the first attempt, but in multiple attempts as well. So this should not be a worry. The second question is, nowadays, even small valuation firms require experience even for an intern post. So even if I ace in all courses like financial modeling, etc., which you suggested, then also where can I start from? Varun, can you unmute yourself and give a brief background of why this question actually came to you? Because at an intern, level itself, I have hardly seen people asking for experiences. So I'm a little confused regarding what you are actually talking about. Hello? Varun, I will take up the next question. Meanwhile, you may unmute yourself and talk. So I will not be able to see. Okay, Varun. So basically, I will tell you my story. I started my articleship in valuation. So at an article, that is just after I cleared my IPCC. So at IPCC level, I had the knowledge which was there in our SFM syllabus. So this is a field which is most relevant. You can most relate to the your SFM subject in your CA curriculum. So at that stage, there were very basic questions that were asked during articleship. But obviously, as you clear your CA final and you interview as a CA fresher, there would be a little more. They might go into a little more depth in terms of the question asked. But yes, there are some materials available. You can read them online or you can watch the YouTube videos. But few of the things that you should take care of is first, be thorough with your SFM syllabus. What all formulas are there? Because the black scholes, for example, the black scholes formula, it was there in our syllabus, and it is one of the formulas that is practically used as well while valuing the options. So yeah, you should be very thorough with your SFM syllabus. The second thing is, so now since 2018, there are Indian valuation standards that are placed, and the valuation exercise are in India are covered within those standards. So this document specific Indian valuation standard, it's available publicly on Google. You just have to type Indian valuation standards 2018, and what all theory is there regarding the valuation, the approaches, the basis, the valuation premises. There are multiple concepts which one needs to take care of while doing the valuation. All those aspects are covered in the books. And the third source which I suggest is, so you might have heard about Damodaran. So Damodaran is like a guru in valuation, which is recognized all over the world. So Damodaran has multiple books on valuation, and he posts YouTube videos as well regarding introduction to valuation, how it's done, and everything. He covers everything under the umbrella of corporate finance in his videos. So that is one of the source which you can refer to while going for valuation. So if you are finding any difficulty specifically regarding at intern post or anything, we can connect offline if you have any specific issue. But I think this should resolve your most of the answer.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. What type of questions were asked in interview? So to be honest, at CF fresher level, you need to have thorough understanding. As I mentioned, you need to have your thorough understanding of your SFM syllabus. Apart from that, it really depends on what you present in your resume. So for example, if somebody has, like Mansi had done a financial modeling course, so she might be asked about it, like how it's done, and you might be given a case study which you will be required to solve on that spot. Because I had heard about this from some of my colleagues. My interview was quite a different, since I had some background experience, so it was on advanced level. But at beginner level, it is not that difficult, and they try to make you comfortable. They might give you a brief perspective about how valuation happens, and then they may deep dive into what all knowledge you have about this field. So basically, talking about a CF from a CF fresher point of view, be thorough with the formulas in the SFM, how the beta happens, what beta actually means. So the formula itself would not suffice. You need to know how the formula functions and what does it represent. So there are ratios, there are market multiple ratios which are used in the valuation. EV by revenue, EV by EBITDA. We understand, we hear about these terms in our day-to-day language also, if you are following the stock market and all. But you need these ratios specifically. You need to have how these ratios function, as to what does this ratio represent, and how do you understand the financial state of the company from these ratios. So you need to relate those ratios internally. So that is something they might test you at the initial stages.
I just wanted to add one thing.
Sure, Mansi.
So yeah, so I in SFM chapter, I think you should really brush up security valuation and bond valuation chapter thoroughly, because a lot of content is covered from there. Like you should really know how the formulas are derived and what works. Like you should be thorough so that they ask you logical questions as well to understand whether you're actually understanding the concept or you're just rote learning it. Then other thing would be in FR, there is chapter business combination and console. So you should be thorough with that also, because I was asked a lot of questions around those things. Because valuation is basically related to merger and acquisition as well. Like for mergers also we need valuation. So they do test your FR and SFM skills. So as much as you brush on that, that would be really helpful. And as far as the attempts wala question was asked by someone, even I have taken attempts. So they didn't even ask me in the interview whether I've taken attempts or not. They just asked me questions in the interview, and when I gave them well, so they selected me. So that doesn't matter really. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mansi. Uh, I think I answered this question. Let me know if you need some more clarification as to what type of questions are asked in interview. The next question is, can you please explain balance sheet approach again? So balance sheet approach is nothing but the net asset value approach, and we have done this during our studies also. So basically the basic value of the company is the assets minus liabilities that the company is carrying in its balance sheet. That is eventually turn out to be the net worth of the company. So that is in simple terms, that is the balance sheet approach. Obviously you will have to make some adjustments. Like for example, if the company has contingent liabilities, you might have to take the probability adjusted value of those contingent liabilities adjusted in your net worth. And that's basically the balance sheet approach is, or the net asset value approach is. Could you please explain which skills are required? So first of all, in terms of skill, uh, as I said, number crunching is important, and being analytical, not only the number crunching is one part, and understanding the numbers you are crunching is the other part. So if you are doing some work with the numbers, how the numbers are replicating into the value of the company, and what they are contributing, what they are telling you about the state of the company, that is important. You need to have a hang on Excel, because as I said, around 60 to 70% work is done on Excel, and then it goes into the report. Apart from that, obviously there are some financial modeling courses out there in the market, but it's not kind of mandatory that you should do them, but it's good to have before you go into this field, because as I told you, it's around 70% of the work is revolved under around your Excel skills. Apart from that, nothing specific that comes to my mind regarding the skills. And you should be updated about the markets, that goes without saying, because you know what are you when you know aware of the market, you know what all transactions are happening, and how that, or what all changes are going out there in terms of the market scenario, the political scenario in country, and how that might impact your target company or the client. And you can ask management questions around that, so that to get a good sense about how the value of the company should be directed towards. I think let me know if you need some specific answer regarding the skills required, or I will move forward. Is registered valuer degree required to practice under valuation? A very good question. So the registered valuers rules have come into the picture under the Companies Act, but let me tell you that requires only to sign the report. So in big fours, at least the partners have the registered valuers number, but when we are the people who are doing the groundwork, or the managers, they are not the registered valuers. It's the person with signing the report needs to be the registered valuer. How to prepare for investment? So I think I have partially answered this question as to what you should do while preparing for interview and placement. Are you if I'm taking this question specifically from valuations point of view, please go through the sources that I have recently covered, the 3 sources: your SFM book, your what they say, Indian valuation standards, because Indian valuation standards is around 108 to 120 page book, and it is available in the form of PDF on the Google also. And if you go through that book, you will understand how what approach one required towards the target company while doing the valuation, because there are a whole lot of scenarios under which the valuation is done. So that's why I would suggest to go through that book. And third, obviously, Damodaran, because Damodaran, the technical knowledge that Damodaran will give you would be unmatchable.
Harshada, I just wanted to add one thing.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So for interviews, one more thing that you should be thorough with is ratios. So there are leverage ratios, solvency ratios. So that also you should do. And one more thing is at least recent, see, understanding the markets and all is very helpful. But in case you are short of time and instantly you want to prepare for interviews, so at least the least bare minimum you should do is you should know the past 4 or 5 recent mergers or acquisitions that have happened, because definitely they do ask questions ki recent mein kaun sa latest kuch merger acquisition hua hai, because valuation revolves around that. So at least that to you should do. That is what I would suggest.
Thanks, Mansi.
Sure.
Varun is saying, I have done financial modeling course, but I was rejected for valuation intern post in a boutique firm. It might depend situation to situation, and I'm not pretty sure of why that has happened. But definitely financial modeling course is an add-on on your resume, and it definitely helps you. At least it gets highlighted in your resume that you have done, though you are a fresher, you have done something relevant towards the valuation, which might help you and might decrease their efforts while investing in you. Because I will tell you what happens is, when you enter as a CA fresher without any valuation background as such, it takes minimum 1 to 1.5 years to get to the core work of valuation. Until that period, you would be mainly investing in the research related work. So let's say I am doing a valuation exercise for a specific company. I have the hold of the model, but there is a lot of background research work that goes into the exercise, which is not directly reflected into it, because we need to understand how the comparable companies are doing. We need to extract the research reports, we need to study those research reports as to how the multiple is driving across the industries, across the comparable companies, and how our company can be benchmarked against those companies. So your first 6 to 8 months would be related to this research related part. Then if you are going into a big four have a lot of audit assist related work. So basically, if let's say a large group of conglomerate is getting audited, this specific conglomerate has multiple investment in the subsidiaries. So these conglomerate gets the valuation of subsidiaries done from one of the valuers, and as auditor of that company, the auditor firm needs to get these valuation reports checked. So these valuation reports are then forwarded to the valuation department of the auditor firm. So after those 6 to 8 months, or during those 6 to 8 months as well, you might be working on the audit assist. So in an audit assist, what we usually do is we try to value the company independently. So what all work this specific valuer of the company has done, we try to question it as to why it is done the way it is done. So that is the audit related work. And once you are good to go with the Excel, by that time you will have the hang of the Excel, you will know how the things work in valuation. So after that, basis your performance during that period, you would be given the actual valuation work as to the client facing work, what we call doing actual valuation of the target companies, communicating with the client and everything related to the valuation till you arrive at the value of the company. So that's how your journey would go if you join the valuation. Would 1 or 2 level of CFA along with qualified CA leverage us against MBA candidates for role in IB, FTT, and valuation and AMC firms? Thank you, Balpreet, for reminding me of this specific question. So many times I have been asked as to, is CFA relevant? Should I do CFA or to get into the valuation? So first of all, CFA, it's not a mandatory qualification to have if you want to enter the valuation. And yes, valuation is a competitive field where CAs are directly competing with the MBAs. So even in my team, we have a mix of CA, CFA, MBA, and and not only like only CA, CFA, all to like both degrees in one person. We have the people who have done only CFA as well. So CFA is not a mandatory qualification to have if you are joining valuation, and ultimately, it's not that if you have CFA in your profile, you will get a hike or you would be promoted early. It ultimately depends on the experience that you have and the way you are performing within your firm that determines. But and ultimately, CFA is a bookish degree. Unlike CA, where you are getting articleship experience, CFA is just a degree which give you add-on knowledge, but not from a practical point of view. I have seen people who are like, I have not done my CFA yet, and I have not given the level 1 also, but you know people have that notion in their mind, if I do CFA I would get entry in the IP. That might not be possible. So this is what the reality is. I just wanted to highlight it, so don't have that notion, if I do my CFA I would get into these fields. And yes, you would be competing with the MBAs also. So CFA might not leverage you, because if you get hired in a big four, then you are very lucky. And big fours nowadays hire quite a lot of CA freshers. But what happens actually is, when we qualify as a CA, we have certain salary related expectation in our mind, but it might happen that the firm might not be willing to invest that much in a CA fresher, because other options for the firm might be a little cheaper. So this might happen, but don't lose hope. There are a whole lot of small firms and boutique firms or mid-sized firms that are that have valuation practice, and you can actually join there. So yeah, that's my take on this. Naveen has raised his hand. Can you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mansi, ma'am, for guiding us this session on valuation. I have a question related to, like, I am a C intermediate student, recently appeared examination, and as you referred so many skills you should be presented in yourself, like SFM should be thorough out, few chapters you suggested, and financial modeling and all. So like I am a noob in the finance. I don't know much thing about this. So from where should I start to get interest some in finance?
Where should you start to get an
Yeah,
interest in finance?
yeah.
So
One of the host in previous session, he suggested me to do some research about it. So related to finance only. So I get confused after that when I was researching. तो मेरे को ऐसा लगा कि मैं किस चीज का रिसर्च करूँ, like कंपनीज का रिसर्च करूँ या फिर किसी और चीज का रिसर्च करूँ. So that's I'm not getting it.
Understood. So what you are an intermediate student, right?
Yeah.
You might not be aware of the mini profile that exists out there, unless you go out for a job hunt. Even I was at your stage, at CA inter level, we are not that much aware, but the opportunity, or the source you can leverage is the LinkedIn.
Okay.
And networking, obviously, because unless you network with a different kind of people, you might not be able to be aware of what our fields actually exist. So during if I take, as I said previously, if I take a merger or acquisition transaction, that transaction goes into different stages throughout with the different people, different type of people. So what I would suggest you is, I understand your doubt that, researching about this vaguely regarding the finances, you would be very much confused. But, talking to someone or networking with the people who are working in those different profiles will give you much better idea of how that profile exactly works. That, for example, I'm a person, you can talk about valuation, how my day-to-day work looks like, what efforts we put, and what type of work we do, what type of clients we cater, what type of industries I am working with. So definitely networking and LinkedIn is one of the sources I would suggest, and then you get to know about those profiles. You can go and do some Google research and how that profile actually is. So I think that might help you to solve your query.
Okay, at initial stage, what could you suggest me to start with? Like reading anything, books, magazines, newspaper, anything?
So newspaper, etc., obviously helps, but mainly the work we do, like for example, financial due diligence. If I take the example of financial due diligence, then there is a commercial due diligence. There is obviously valuation. Then there is actually the hunting of the buyer, that seller of the business that goes out. These are some of the things that go into a transaction which are going out there in the background of the transaction, so you might not be aware of it at the front. So
Right.
it might not be possible to actually find these particular things that go into a transaction. But I would definitely suggest you keep a track, you read newspaper daily. That is that is non-bargainable. You have to read the newspaper daily. But as to magazines and all, I'm not very sure that it would help you to get an idea of what one of the fields exactly is. Or you can connect with mentors of Vision CA. We are around 200 people, and we are working across different fields. And you can get an idea of or you have some doubt regarding specific profile of one of the mentors, you can directly reach out to them and understand how the work goes in there.
Yeah, many of them suggested us like for the better understanding, you must read in for the tax purpose advanced ruling, and for forensic audit you must do some reading about the case studies, what's happening in the market. And like I'm not getting the answer properly what I want for the finance field. Like you said, you must read the newspaper to get the better understanding what the things are happening. The transaction are happening from back end, you didn't know what is happening on the front end. And I want to know the front end में क्या हो रहा है जो back end में ऐसा हो रहा है. So for
See,
that I need to understand back end only, no?
yes, but let me tell you, at intermediate stage, you might not be able to understand these things very clearly, because
Okay.
once you get into the articleship, the things would be very, very much clear to you. For example, if you're working in an audit, if you're working with a company that has, say, multiple investments, and those investments are, getting tested for impairment, then you get to know how these things happen and what you have to actually do. So unless you get into an articleship, you might not be, just a Google research would not help unless you go and do the actual work. So if you want to have more clarity, we can definitely connect post this session, and I would be very glad to help you in whatever way that's possible from my end.
Oh,
But don't stress so much before choosing a profile itself,
okay.
because you are an inter student. You have a whole lot of time before you're clearing CA exams at before clearing your CA exams itself. So don't do so much research and have some preconceived notion in your mind before you actually go and do that work.
Okay.
Because ultimately the experiences you would be hearing from multiple people would be from their own point of view. So I would suggest you to work with that specific thing or specific profile to get your own perspective, and then you decide.
Okay. And there is a word leverage. We have studied in financial management subject that leverage
Right.
means the company having the more debt and
Yes.
more risky. So
Yes.
here, is there any another interpretation of this word, or is that exact same meaning?
So yeah, this is one of the meaning that the company has, but I'm not able to leverage as to when we use it. It's mostly
Like
regarding
you
the
used
debt.
recently, there is a more, put a more leverage on that perspective. I asked.
Can
Like
you?
in chat, you read a message that a qualified chartered accountant and CFA level 1 will leverage more than MBA, like
So
this way.
leverage in that case would have add-on advantage. That's
Okay.
the simple meaning which I wanted to have there.
Okay. Means leverage means more advantage we have.
Yes.
Okay. And in finance term, we have more debt.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank
Harshada,
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Harshada,
Mansi, go ahead.
yeah, we have two more questions. Like one of them was apart from financial modeling courses, what other courses one should do? So can I answer
Relevant
the
to,
question?
yeah, definitely take it ahead. Thank you.
So financial modeling courses is very helpful. If somebody wants to ask me, like they are confused about financial modeling courses, I have done it from CFI, that is a corporate finance institute. So I'm not promoting it, but it was a really good course. So if somebody is confused, that is a good source to do it from. Other than that, considering Harshada has already said that Excel, like 60 to 70% work is Excel. So it is very important that you brush up your Excel, advanced Excel skills, and if you do some courses, then definitely it would help. So these are the main two things that you should do. There are no other more specific course that is required to be done. One another question was there that which firms or where should we apply for valuation? So I think Harshada will be able to answer this more clearly. So over to you, Harshada.
Yes, thank you, Mansi. So yeah, definitely this question comes into one's mind, where all we should apply for. So, obviously the big fours have their own valuation practices. And recently the trend has been that big fours have been hiring. Previously, big fours had that, specific criteria that you should have some experience before you join their valuation practice. But recently, the big fours have been hiring the CA freshers also in their valuation practices. So definitely one of your key employers would be the big fours. Apart from that, GT, BDO also have their valuation practices. So yes, obviously this would make you to the big six in the valuation practices. Then there are mid-sized firms who have their valuation exercises. Like what Hari Bhakti has valuation. From Hari Bhakti, I have done my articleship also. So Hari Bhakti has their valuation practice. Then there are some mid-sized firm. I'm not able to recollect exactly, but yeah.
RBSA advisory.
RBSA is not a chartered accountant firm. So, from an articleship point of view, you might not be able to go there. But after clearing your CA finals, definitely RBSA is one of the, then Mansi Mehta has a valuation practice. And, they hire the intermediate, like articles also for their valuation practice. So these are some of the names which are come to my mind from a mid-size or boutique firm's point of view. I hope I answered your question correctly. And if you need any more help regarding seeking out the firms, etc., we can connect offline, and I can help. I would be very happy to help you to the extent possible. The next question is, in my articleship, we don't have, I think Uttara has her hand raised. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Harshada and Mansi, for this great session. I have a couple of questions. Most of us here are done our articleship in mid-sized firm, so we don't have any exposure in valuation as such, specifically M&A or any other valuation. Even for due diligence, in that case, we have done a proper audit or taxation, like tax audit filing or
I understand.
kind of thing only. So if I get into the Big Four or any other industry-related valuation companies. Other than financial modeling, you suggested this the Modern on newspaper thing we have to read. I noted down that point. Thanks for that suggestion. And my question is, what is your typical day in Big Four?
What my typical day looks like?
Initial experience or
I would request Mansi to take up this question because she would be in very good position to answer you. She has been working with GT since last 4 to 5 months. So Mansi, would you please take up this question?
So she has Big Four, right? Or GT?
No, she asked as in of a fresher, how does it look of work of a fresher looks like?
Yeah. So as of now, like the work life in valuation, you don't have specific due dates. Okay, so there is no specific time when there is pressure. It's basically, it depends on engagement to engagement. Engagement, sometimes it's a week long or it's 2 weeks long. So if you have to complete it within a week, then you basically spend around 8 to 10 hours minimum working daily. I joined GT, so I have Saturday, Sundays off. So I am not asked to work on Saturday, Sundays as of now. But daily, 8 to 10 hours is minimum, and the work pressure is like decent. It's not very chill. Typical day, if you ask me, it's basically around we get the data from the client, and we understand the data and we research and analyze. So what we get is the financials are basically based on accounting and FR. However, valuation is basically what is the value of the company. It doesn't depend on what it shows in the balance sheet. You have to analyze what each component consists of in the balance sheet and whether it is adding value to the company or not. So it basically includes a lot of report reading and researching and analyzing. Prepare financial, as I told, we prepare Excel, we prepare the models, we carry out a valuation through various methods. And after that is done, we just prepare the reports in Excel. So yeah, the typical day goes around Excel only, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and a lot of research. So we use Google and a lot of other sources like CIQ, which is Capital IQ login, and reading news articles. And yeah, so that is how it looks like.
To give you more clarity of how the actual work goes into, let's take an example of XYZ company which has come to you to conduct a valuation exercise for XYZ purposes. It could be anything. So there are two exercises that go on simultaneously. So one exercise is understanding the historical financials of the company, and I'm assuming here that you have all the required data, as in the projections of the company, the historical financials of the company. So one exercise that goes is the plotting of the historical financials and understanding how the company has been performing historically over 4 to 5 years. So that is how you understand how the performance has been, what the company has done. And if you have any specific queries as to in one of the years, if the company has not performed up to the certain level, you can ask queries. So that's where your query list comes into the picture. These are the preliminary queries from business understanding point of view of the company, that is getting prepared. The second set of exercises related to the market. As I mentioned, there is a market approach as well, where the research of the comparable companies of the company. So comparable companies is basically the companies operating in the similar industry as that of your target company. So that exercise goes simultaneously. Then there is like the comparable companies, there are comparable transactions. Like if the transaction, any acquisition related transaction has happened in the specific industry, from where we can get an understanding of that transaction financial statements, you have statements, and you have plotted, you have understood what the company has done in its last 4 to 5 years. Then the management provides you the projections. Projections is basically used for the discounted cash flow approach. So you plot those projections in your model, and you try to understand how the company looks forward regarding its in terms of its performance within next 4 to 5 years. So basically you try to correlate the historical performance of the company and the projections of the company, and if you see any mismatch there, then you form a comprehensive query list regarding these queries. Then you will have a call with the management of the company. In that specific call of the with the management, you can actually interact with the CEO and CFOs of the client company, and they will help you understand how the market is operating, how the business is operating, what is the actual business model of the company, how the company is getting revenue, like the revenue model of the company, what all cost the company is incurring, and how the costs are getting incurred, to whom the company is actually paying. So basically the whole business model of the company, and then you try to relate the business model of the company with the historical financial statements and the projected financial statements that you have. So once you have this basic business related understanding, then you are in a better position to conduct a valuation exercise, because you have identified what are the return drivers of the company and what is the risk that company is facing, and you try to benchmark your company's performance against the market comparable companies, that is the, you can say, the competitors of the target company. So a mixture of all these exercises, after doing all these exercises, you arrive at a value of the company. And basically, as Mansi mentioned, this work goes into, all this work goes into the Excel, and your value comes, and then the report is formed in Word or, in PPT format.
Wow, that's a great, all the points I got. Thank you very much, Harshada and Mansi. I would like to connect with you guys. Can you ping your LinkedIn ID or?
Definitely, we will ping our LinkedIn ID, or you can connect anyone in the VCA, and we can connect accordingly to that person.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Uttara. So I think Uttara had this particular question regarding what all courses you had done and what all exposure you had. I think we have solved this question. Balpreet, are you talking about Aswat Damodaran? Yes, I'm talking about Aswat Damodaran. He's he has a very good knowledge, and he has been teaching since I think 1984 in NYU Stern University, and his lectures are pretty useful. And in some of his lectures on the YouTube, it actually tries to value the company. So basically he had, I think, a release video about valuation of Zomato when Zomato was getting listed, and that's when he had his valuation. But definitely Zomato was listed at a much higher price than what he had valued. The market has crashed, but that's a different story now. Someone, Android Blue whatever, has written sorry, I also wanted to understand, how is the price band decided, calculated for a company who is going for IPO? Does valuation comes under this? Very good question, actually. So as I said, valuation exercise and a pricing exercise are two different components. As you know, as I said, valuation is done mostly from a market participant point of view, unless asked. So valuation is what value get in a best case scenario in the market, and assuming everyone has knowledge regarding the market of the company, target company, and all. So valuation is a kind of exercise which is in a very ideal situation. But when we consider pricing is ultimately what a willing buyer and willing seller would decide. Sorry, the willing buyer, I should not use this term, because pricing is influenced by multiple factors. Because it has happened that and it usually happens that if XYZ, if 100 rupees value is given for a company, the actual transaction might happen at a value higher or lower than that company. So valuation and pricing are two different aspects, and IPO pricing specifically does not come under valuation. IPO pricing is done by merchant bankers. Can you rename that YouTube channel? I just went. It's Aswat Damodaran sir YouTube channel. He has his channel in his own name. Will you
Sorry,
be?
Harshada, I'm interrupting you
Yeah,
between.
yeah, go ahead.
Like you said, just keep price and valuation are two different concepts.
Hmm.
So you explained the valuation, right? I got it that.
Right.
And price is according to you. What I get is, do me correct if I am wrong.
Hmm.
Price is what we are actually. It's a difference between lower amount or higher amount. We can say कि इतना तो minimum होगा ही होगा approximately, like
See,
something which you are buying.
valuation, in one of the, one of the aspects to cover about difference in the valuation and the pricing, would I cover valuation is the most sane price, sane value that a company can get, and pricing is influenced by multiple factors. Maybe the recent changes or one's expectations about the specific industry or the specific asset, or the emotional, emotional thing, the something related to emotions also comes into the picture.
Hmm.
That's why, the price, that's how those all factors also impact the price, but those factors might not come into the valuation.
Okay, it's a
So
broader part.
yes, exactly.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you.
Will you be able to provide reference for this role? That would be of great help. I would request you to contact offline. We might not be able to do this during this session. Then I think someone has asked, I have cleared my CFA level 1 exam before, and I also appeared for CA finals this December. Will my CFA give me an age, and also how to apply for the same? So as I mentioned earlier, CFA might not give a specific age over a CA fresher, because in terms of CFA, as I mentioned, it's just a course that gives you an add-on degree on your resume. But from experience point of view, you are as good as a CA fresher who has not done a CFA. So it might not give you an add-on advantage. But there are specific fields or profiles, like for example, JP Morgan has this specific department, CIB, which do the work of their North America front end investment banking. So these JP Morgan people require those candidates who have done their CFA L1 and who have cleared their CFA L1. So these specific companies might be looking for CFA. But from a valuation point of view, from the valuation firm's point of view, valuation practice does not necessarily need a CFA, and it might not give you age. We would be posting our LinkedIn names and everything, IDs over, or you can connect any of the mentors from VC and they would help you to get in touch with us. Then will Big Four give induction program for freshers? So yes, so as far I can talk about KPMG, because I have been working here for almost 9 to 10 months now. So in KPMG, at least we are a team of around 100 plus people and working from Mumbai, Delhi and Bangalore location. And like this open house or boot camp that VCA has, our managers also conduct a boot camp for CA freshers to get them on board with how the valuation exercise is done, how to handle the different softwares. For extracting data and all, we use, as Mansi mentioned, we use Capital IQ. Then for private companies operating in India, there is a software called VCCH. Then there is Bloomberg. So in those bootcamp sessions, you would be given an idea of how do we do research and how do we deal with the extracting the data and processing the data related things. But I'm not pretty sure about the other big fours, whether that happens or not, but in KPMG, it does happen. Can we get to mid or front office through CA plus CFA L2? Balpreet, can you please unmute yourself, and can you please clarify from by the term front office you are meaning in terms of the investment banking? Not pretty sure I got your message.
He's not in the meeting right now. You can move ahead.
Acha, no problem. Mm. So lot of
Uh,
questions. Mansi, can you?
Sure. So there are two more questions, Harshada.
Hmm.
One of it is, I would like to know what exactly is covered in financial modeling course, as we are talking about it so many times.
Hmm.
So financial modeling course is basically, if there are people from CA final, you would know in SFM you have DCF valuation, FCFF valuation. So basically, the valuations that are prepared on Excel, you have learned it in CA final in paper, right? You know the formula and you calculate it on paper. But on Excel, it's totally different. So financial modeling course is just valuing the company on Excel and using the formulas. That is what basically it is. One another question was, do we have freelancing work or scope of assignment that is related to valuation? So as of now, I have never heard of any freelancing in valuation. We have a full-time job. Harshada, do you know of any freelancing that is done in valuation?
Freelancing is done in valuation when you have a certain degree of experience,
Huh.
when you can conduct a whole exercise on yourself. But again, valuation is something which needs to be signed. It needs to be signed, and that's why even I am not pretty aware of any freelancing work that goes. But what I have heard from some of my MBA colleagues and all, unless you have a certain years of experience, freelancing might not be possible.
Hmm. Okay, thank you, Harshada. One another question is, can you mention the course again? So the course is Corporate Finance Institute ka Financial Modeling and Valuation Analyst course. And Harshada also said Ashwat Damodaran's YouTube channel is very nice. So if you don't want to get into matlab, you want to watch something instead of reading, then that is a very nice source to do it from.
Shitanshu, can you please unmute yourself and ask the question?
Hello, Mansi. Hello, Harshada.
Hi,
Actually,
hi.
hello. I'm telling कि जैसे जब हम स्वैप रेशियो डिसाइड करते हैं, ठीक है, फॉर
Hmm.
टारगेट कंपनी एक्वायरिंग कंपनी जब बैठते हैं स्वैप रेशियोज और डिसाइड होते हैं, तो देयर आर वेरियस फैक्टर्स एंड थिंग्स लाइक book value per share, EPS, market capitalization, market value, and very other things are there जो मतलब हम कंसिडर करते हैं जनरली, और ऐसा हमने स्टडी भी किया है, ठीक है. तो इसमें आई एम टेलिंग कि समटाइम्स वी हैव सीन कि प्राइसेस जो होती है, देयर आर डिफरेंसेस, मतलब मोर देन 100 टाइम्स, और समटाइम्स मतलब कि बहुत ज्यादा वेरिएशंस होते हैं. लाइक इफ वी सी कि फेसबुक और व्हाट्सएप जो डील हुआ था, और टाटा कोरस डील, लाइक टाटा कोरस डील वी आल्सो नोन कि मतलब वो थोड़ा सा एक मतलब वी कैन से कि मतलब इमोशनल फैक्टर्स भी कहीं ना कहीं कंसिडर हो जाते हैं. तो मतलब कि कैन वी से कि मतलब जब कुछ डील्स या कुछ होती हैं, तो मतलब जो फैक्टर्स वी आर सीइंग इन बुक्स, actually we are seeing in books like book value or EPS and other things, despite of the fact कि मतलब उनके साथ में ये factors भी work करते हैं कि like if anyone is committing um, we can say like emotionally or other things as well, other factors too.
So I would definitely, there are multiple, as I explained, there are multiple factors which comes into the picture when the actual pricing is done. But let me take you to the example of the valuation of the startup companies, the value at which the startup companies
Yes.
are getting listed. So, it's more of what the company is expected to grow at. They are more betting on the future of the company.
Correct. Yes.
While in valuation, we try to analyze what can be the best case and the worst case scenario. And
Yes.
in case of startups, we value accordingly. So valuation, in most of the cases, valuation and pricing would not be on the same line.
It can change on case to case basis. Like in sometimes it cannot go hand in hand for all the companies. Yes, as you
Exactly.
also
Exactly.
mentioned. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank.
One of the question is, how is the work-life balance and what are the working hours for CA working in valuation? So for anyone working in the valuation, as a Mansi explained that, we don't have the timelines or deadlines as in the case of taxes and audits. What we do work is on the engagement basis, and engagements come and go. So for example, if you're working on a transaction of some listed company, the timelines would be very tight, as low as 1 to 2 weeks. And in that case, your work hours might might go to 12 to 14 hours. But if you don't have, if you have some there is a purchase price allocation exercise, that is valuation of intangible assets, which has, where we know, right, as per India's 103, you have time of one year while recording your intangible assets in the books post acquisition. So in that case, the valuation exercise might go up to 2 to 3 months, where you have a pretty lot of time to conduct that valuation. But you should be aware of, if you're joining a big four, or for that matter any valuation firm, you would not be working on one assignment at a time. There would go 2 to 3 to 4 engagements, multiple engagements at one time. So yeah, as Mansi said, 8 to 10 hours is the minimum, but in most of the cases, it might go to 10 to 12 also. Ankit, can you please unmute yourself and ask?
Hey, hi.
Hey, Ankit.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
My question is regarding the valuation itself, and I just want to know that valuation is itself a very big scope altogether.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you, what are the basic scope that are available for the chartered accountant, like going into the transaction advisory, mergers, acquisition? There are many fields. So what are the
Right.
basic fields that we can enter into?
So
Like,
apart in transaction advisory, apart from valuation, there is obviously financial due diligence. Then there is commercial due diligence as well. Commercial due diligence is basically one part of commercial due diligence is understanding feasibility of business before acquiring by the acquirer company. And the second is post acquisition exercises, where they try to uh, what can I say? I don't have a specific term for it, but they try to match the working of two companies. It's something called integration related exercise.
Synergy, I guess you're talking about.
No, synergy is a term that is the company generating added value. This is more related to operation. So CTD, commercial due diligence, is mainly focused on operational feasibility and operations of the company, pre-acquisition and post-acquisition. Then there is a mergers and acquisition tax. Basically, structuring transaction is in the most efficient tax efficient manner, where CS work in transaction advisory. So these are some of the fields related to transaction advisory where CS can help.
The another thing is all these fields are basically onto the back end, but the front end deal is done by the MBAs or being the qualified professionals. So what is the percentage of competition there? Can you please tell me about that? Because I'm looking forward into that.
So in case you're talking about the front end, it definitely done by the investment bankers. So investment bankers, as you yourself mentioned, it's very competitive, because and getting into the front end at fresher level, it's very difficult.
No, obviously I'm not talking about the fresher level. I'm talking about the experience after 15 or 20 years. Obviously it will take time.
It's not 20 years also. So what I understand about IB is, so investment banking is nothing but their almost 50 to 60% of their work is related to valuation itself, and then the 40% is regarding the other work, like identifying the buyer, the meeting of buyer and seller, and the negotiations basically. So obviously you need to have understanding of the numbers first to get into the IB. And if you get into the valuation, IB valuation is one of the exit routes to get into the IB, if that helps you.
Okay, may I ask you another one, please?
Yeah.
So actually, I was into the venture capital fund for the time being 1 year now.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward for a change. It is into like any sort of investment bank. So what is the opportunity that I might get there, or I should approach Big Four for this purpose? Or I just go for the top 20 firm into the transaction advisory or the mergers and acquisition there. What is the great possibility to just go into that particular place there where I just want to get into?
If you're specifically looking for IB, I would suggest you to continue with it, because when you get into transaction advisory, it's constrained to these specific areas. Like if I'm working with valuation, I totally work in the valuation. But if you need to be in the front end, you want to work in the actual transaction with the company, then obviously I would suggest you to go with the IB itself, and considering you have some experience prior in the, I guess you mentioned merchant banking, right? So that
No,
might be
venture capital.
venture capital, then it's very good, no?
Yeah.
If you have experience with venture capital, that's a very good profile actually. And if you want to work in the front end transaction, IB is a very good option, and I don't see any problem of you getting into IB.
Okay, and another thing is, which is more good, like, is it IB or a private equity? Because venture capital is something which kind of constrain into the longer range. But if you look into the IB or look into the private equity, those places are look more glorious, and the career prospect is really high there. So what is more beneficial, either it's IB or a PE?
Even I might not be the correct person to answer this, because I have worked in 4 years in valuation. But it I think it at the end it depends on what thing you actually want, because I don't have experience in PE, VC either, and I don't have experience in IB either. So
Sorry.
I'm not sure if I can answer this correctly.
No problem. I just look forward for someone. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Ankit.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Hi, Harshada. Sorry to interrupt. I actually have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So actually, I'm looking forward to apply for valuations in the valuations team at Big Four. So can you please tell me something about what the team consists of? Like, is it mainly CA freshers, or does it also include MBAs and CFAs with you?
Yes, as I mentioned, there are graduates also, which have passed out from esteemed colleges. There are graduates, there are MBA freshers, there are CA freshers, there are experienced CAs who have past experience in valuation, there are experienced MBAs who have past experience in valuation. Then this is the core team which actually work on the model. Then there are managers who have pretty good 6, 7 to 8 or sometimes 10 years of experience, and then there are directors and partners. So it would be a mixture of all. And as I said, even though you are a CA fresher, you would be working primarily on research in some for quite a few some time, and then you would move as and when you grow, or basis your performance and capability, you would be given the actual valuation related work.
Okay.
But definitely you
Thank
could be
you so
able
much.
to attend the calls that goes, as I mentioned, the call goes on with the CEO and CFOs to understand the business and the financial performance of the company, how the company has performed, what is the vision of the company. So those calls are pretty much interesting, and you would be able to attend those calls.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I also have one more question. Actually, I've done my articleship 3 years in completely in statutory audit, and now I'm planning to shift to valuations. So, what will be the difficulties that I might face, and how can I prepare now? Like before the results, I have some time. So, what should I do to prepare now?
So as I said, start reading about valuation. And as you mentioned that you have done your articleship from articleship in statutory audit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from for the audience who have done their articleship in Big Fours have in their I just want you to be informed that Big Fours have their internal program also, through which they hire CA freshers of their own firm in their different departments, and valuation can be one of the department that you might want to apply for, and then the interview process would obviously happen. But this is one of the way you can get into the valuation internally if you had done your articleship in Big Fours. From a mid-sized firm point of view, as I said, like in the previous conversations, the earliest part of the conversation that we had, those sources, or getting hold of, you basically have to read about it. You need to understand how it's done, and everything. It's like it might be a very difficult for you from a fresher point of view, or reading it for the first time. It would be a theoretical knowledge, but having a theoretical base before you get into the practical work would definitely help you. So as the sources I mentioned would help you, and I think at a fresher level those sources should suffice, because as I said in interview also, they might not ask you very difficult questions, or but as Mansi mentioned, the understanding of the ratios, understanding of what is going in the market right now, how the market is performing right now, so that is something you should be aware of.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And also, how do I approach the Big Four? For since I'm from a mid-sized firm, I don't really have many contacts. So, is it possible that I approach directly the HR department and ask for, vacancies and valuations, or how?
HR department, I'm not pretty sure, because sometimes you might not get response. I would actually suggest you to connect on LinkedIn with people working in those departments. Like, I'm working in KPMG, I can help you in KPMG, and likewise you can contact other people who are working in the other big fours, and try to send your resume through them, because these people are the people who are working actually with the managers, and managers are the people who actually hire. So your resume would be directly going to the manager, and the process gets a little faster, because in terms of if you go through the HR, you will have to definitely call up and keep the follow up. So that that additional effort is saved if you route it through some any of the person who is working in the big four, and not necessarily in the valuation department, but you can route it to the people who are working in different departments also. Since the HR is internally linked, it gets forwarded, and it reaches the right manager, who is handling the what you say, hiring of the new candidates.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Before closing up, we have two more questions. That one of that was what is the career growth in this field, and what are the exit opportunities? So I think Harshada only will be able to answer this clearly. So I just wanted to, so that we don't miss out, I just wanted to catch up.
Right. This is a kind of perfect question to close this session. Actually, what are the exit opportunities for valuation? So as I said, valuation will give you a right hang of the numbers. You know how the numbers are moving, and you actually get to know what after a point of time, you actually get to know how the value of the company should be derived. So in valuation, apart from the numbers, you also get to work on the report. So your report writing skills, or your communication skills also improve, because you are communicating with client to solve your queries to get the data. So exit routes of valuation can be definitely investment banking, the PVC valuation. As Ankit has mentioned, after valuations, people move into PVC firms also, because these people are handling the investments, and they know how to if you know how to value a company, then it makes you a better person to decide about how to invest in a company. So obviously PVC is one of the exit routes, and valuation actually opens you a lot more of opportunities in terms of either in valuation itself or in the different fields. Wherever the value or the pricing comes into the picture, valuation profile helps you. Uttara, can you please unmute yourself and ask?
Yeah, Harshita, I'm just curious to know, you mentioned graduates and the MBAs and the other CAs, freshers also in your team. I would like to know the pay range about, because everything is mixed, no? So CAs, MBAs, and graduates also is there in your team. So pay, I would like to know about the pay range. I mean, you no need to mention the specific amount. Range.
Yeah. So see, big fours have this policy as to, if you don't have experience, you are coming as a CA fresher, then if you have done your articleship in big fours itself, then they might hire you a higher package as compared to a CA fresher which comes from a mid-sized firm. That's their policy. I don't know why that policy exists, but that's their policy. When I joined KPMG, I was able to command, or I was able to bargain for a higher pay basis my past experience. But when you come from a as a CF fresher with a mid-sized firm articleship experience, the pay might be a little lower than what a CF fresher from a big four has. And basically, if in terms of qualification point of view, MBAs and graduates, etc., we need to understand it. Just because we have the CA degree, obviously the CA, if a MBA fresher or a graduate is getting hired at analyst position, a CM would be hired at senior analyst position. So that's the basic difference in terms of qualification has, but not a huge difference. It might happen that a MBA fresher who has cleared like in past 1 year and already has 1 year of experience might be working at same level as of you as a CA fresher.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
Naveen.
I don't have any question, but I can suggest Ankit, which he asked the question and want to contact with IB or BC, those who are working on it. There's a guy in Vision CA team, Amay
Amay
Dabolkar.
Dabulkar. Amay
Yes.
Dabulkar.
Yes, he is working in IB. So recently, I have a contact. He had a session, and I was participating in that in a recent Sunday. So he was telling that he's working in IB. So Ankit can refer him
What's his
for
name?
better.
And actually, I didn't
Amay
hear.
Amay Dabulkar. The name is Amay Dabulkar. He's currently working in IB team in HDFC Bank.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I'll just put his name in the chat box and you can just connect with him anytime.
Thank you very much, Risha, and thank you very much, Naveen.
Thank you. Welcome.
And just to inform you guys, VCA is coming up with a boot camp for CA freshers. Just where you would be able to give the group discussion round and the mock interviews before you actually appear for your interviews, which we are internally coordinating and conducting for you people. So you can definitely subscribe for that also if you want to have your mock interview done before you appear for your actual interview. We would help you out with what type of questions would exactly be asked basis your profile, and how you can improve your resume writing skill, or how one answer should be given in a more proper way.
And also, IB open house will be taken up soon. Like it is lined up, but it is lined up, I guess, for February. So yeah, you can connect with Amay and also you can join in the open house. So I guess, yeah,
We have
please, Harshada.
overshot. Yeah, I guess we have overshot the session by already few minutes. And if you have any other doubts, please feel free to reach us out. Either ping us on WhatsApp or LinkedIn, or call up. We would be very glad to help you in whatever way possible. And all the best to you. And just have your own good time till your results come out. Just relax.
Correct. Great session, Harshada and Mansi. Thank you so much for giving such insights on the profile. And also thank you so much everyone for joining in and taking out time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Trisha, for
Yeah.
hosting. Thank you, Harshada, and thank you, everyone,
Yeah.
for joining.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.